Hello guys, my name is Viha Suhasbhat and I'm currently studying in SPC. Today we're going to talk about the role of personal narratives in research methodology. So what is personal narratives in research? So it basically means exploring the significance of personal stories in enhancing our research methodology. So how does this enhance our research methodology? Like just our personal narratives or stories, how do they enhance our research? So first, it is enhances the research depth. So the personal narratives enrich research by providing context, insights that statically data alone cannot offer. So personal narratives usually contain emotions, etc., which statistics data cannot provide us with. Next is human element. Again, incorporating personal stories introduces a human element or an emotion, making research findings more relatable and impactful for people who are reading about our research. Next is contextual understanding. So, personal experiences help in understanding the complex phenomena by illustrating real life implications of the research outcomes. So, because of you personally experiencing something, you will know more in-depth details about the problem. You will know exactly how to overcome it. So, this contextual understanding will be developed with personal narratives. Next is methodological innovation. So, utilizing narratives can lead to innovative research methodologies that account for subjective experiences. So, this will give us an insight into each person's personal views. So, we can collect multiple views instead of just statistical data of numbers. Next is data interpretation. Stories can aid in interpreting data, providing a narrative that highlights patterns and trends. So these stories can also help us to figure out the ups and lows of our data or our research and figure out which is more important and which is less important and other things like that. So next we'll look at the historical context of personal narratives. So wherein all this has been used so far and how it has helped in few of the areas. So the roots of personal narratives in research methodology is what we're seeing here now. First is origins in ethnography and anthropology. So personal narratives track back to ethnographic and anthropological studies, showcasing their foundational role in research. Next is contributions of Brainslaw and Melinoskovsky. These are first-hand storytelling to grasp cultural contexts, influencing narrative methods in research. Next is influence of Clifford Gritz. So Gritz worked on highlighting the interpretive aspect of narratives, shaping the understanding of cultural narratives. Next is storytelling as a research tool. So it's a vital thing for understanding cultures, making personal narratives essentially in qualitative research. So all four of these are the basics from which personal narratives started being used in research methodologies. A few of the examples have also been given here. This is helping us to understand the contextual, part of it and get a grasp of those contexts too. Next, we're going to see methodological approaches involving narratives. So, we're going to explore the impact of personal stories in research. First is narrative inquiry. So, this utilizes personal stories to understand individual experience and perspectives. Like I said in the first slide, while telling the advantages of using personal narratives in research methodology, getting personal views and perspectives of people will help you understand the problem more and in a deeper level. Next is life history research focuses on personal histories to reveal deeper insights into the human behavior. Again, this helps you figure out the working of the human brain, figure out why they're responding to few stimuli, etc. Next is authentography. So this combines personal narrative with cultural analysis to explore social contexts. So this is something that combines current personal point of views with stereotypical point of views that people have already assumed and made an assumption of. So this will help us figure out which is more accurate, which of the assumptions made were true and based on scientific reasons, which of them were false and just namesake made. Next, we're going to see about the advantages of using personal narratives. So this explores how personal narratives will enrich our research methodologies. First is rich qualitative data. So if you get personal narratives offered in-depth qualitative information that captures the complexity of human experiences. So basically, We're going to get to know about everything that is going to be involved in that problem, everything that the person has faced in detail, which will give you more rich and accurate data. Next is insights into phenomenon. Again, these narratives can reveal underlying patterns and insights into both personal and social behaviors. Like I said in the previous slide, this will help us to figure out why a person is reacting a certain way for certain stimuluses, which also leads to a better research quality. Next is humanizing research. They help to make the research findings more relatable and understandable, bridging the gap between data and human experiences. So, if our research is only consisting of numbers and other data, it might not be as accessible or understandable for everyone who's viewing our research paper. So to be able to make it more humanizable, to be able to make it more reachable, having personal stories or personal data into it gives us one gets us one step ahead to reaching a more substantial customer base. Next is broader audience engagement. So personal stories can engage a wider audiences, making complex research more accessible and interesting. Again, because you have personal stories, there is some emotion connected to those stories. These emotions will attract people into it, broadening your audience engagement and giving and bringing in more people to read your research papers. Next, we're going to talk about the few challenges and criticisms that this method of using of personal narratives in research has brought forth. So these are the few limitations we have seen. First is subjective to personal narratives. So critics argue that the personal narratives are often overly subjective, making it hard to establish objective conclusions. So if you're listening to a person's story and it seems very much something that is happening only to that person and no one else is facing that problem, then it can be a very subjective approach. It can be a very subjective approach and an idea or an ideology or a problem statement. So the next one is generalization issues. So the unique nature of personal stories can hinder their applicability across borders, contexts, or populations. Again, personal narratives are what a single person is experiencing. So this may not be applicable for people who are from a different area, from a different culture, or different background, and things like that. So this will might mitigate our generalization of the paper. Next is researcher bias. There's a significant risk that the researcher's own biases may skew the interpretation of personal narratives. Again, if the communication between the person whose personal narrative you're listening to or getting from and the researcher itself is not perfect, is not gelling well, then there are chances of the researcher misreading the personal narrative and leading that will lead the researcher to wrong conclusions and wrong assumptions in the paper. Next, we're going to look at ethical considerations. So, what are the ethics that you're going to have to address if you're using personal narratives for research? First is informed consent. You cannot use a personal narrative of a person without their consent. So, researchers must obtain explicit permission from participants before using their narratives. Next is confidentiality. Again, protecting the identity and the privacy of participants is the paramount of narrative research. Very obviously, you need to make sure that the name of the person whose personal narrative has been given to you or the personal story has been given to you is not revealed in your research paper if they don't want it to be revealed. Next is emotional impact. You have to also understand or consider the emotional effects their narratives may have on the participants. So, if you're asking someone who's gone through a traumatized experience to go through that experience by explaining that process to you, you have to understand the emotional impact and the emotional dose it's going to take on the person also. Next, we're going to see the data collection techniques that are used to gather personal narratives and research. First is interviews. Obviously, this is a very direct method to gather a detailed personal story through conversation, offering rich quantitative data. So this can either be face-to-face interview or you're meeting them online, etc. This is one of the best ways to gather information. Next is diaries, enables participants to document their experiences over time, providing insights into change and development. Almost everyone nowadays has a diary, writes down how their day went to keep up their memories, something they go back to later on and read, to figure out where they've reached in life. That is something we can use. to collect data. Next is storytelling sessions, fascinating discussions where individuals share experiences, fostering a deeper understanding of personal narratives. Again, if the person himself is telling the story to multiple other people, is a chance that we can understand it more deeply and get the points that he's trying to share. Next is adaptability. So each technique can be customized to fit specific researchers' needs, enhancing the relevance and depth of data collected. So the three techniques that we've already told can be mixed, can be edited, can be changed to fit this particular research's need, and then continued for data collection. Next, we're going to analyze few personal narratives and the role of personal narratives in research methodology. First is thematic coding. This involves categorizing narratives into themes for deeper understanding. Next is narrative structuring, organizing stories to reveal their underlying frameworks. Next is identifying patterns, recognizing recurring themes that provide insights into the narratives. Next is uncovering meanings, extracting deeper insights that inform research methodology. So this can include properly understanding, saying which of the problems are being repeated in multiple storytellings. Again, figuring out which of the causes or the problems are having deeper impact on the participants and things like that. Next, we're going to look at a case study where personal narratives was used in healthcare research. So exploring the impact of patient stories on care practices. First is insight from patient experience. Personal narratives often offer deep insights into how patients perceive their healthcare journey. Next, understanding the treatment outcomes. The narratives help researchers understand the effectiveness and impact of various treatments. So once the treatment is done, if you go and get a feedback from your patient saying, how are you feeling now? Or if the pain is reduced and things like that, you'll understand if the methods you're using are effective or not. Next is illness impact on daily life. So personal stories shed a light on how illness affect daily activities and overall quality of life. So if for an example, if there's someone with constant knee pain and has it for years, and after an operation, you get a difference between how their lifestyle was before the surgery and after the surgery, then you can understand saying how much of an impact that particular surgery has had on that particular patient. Next is informing patient-centered care. So, insights gained from narratives can be used to shape more effective patient centered care strategies. So, with the insights from all the other three techniques, you can build a better system, a better recovery system, or maybe even a better technique of surgery, or things like that, which will help patients better in the later stages. So, next, we're going to see how we can integrate personal narratives with quantitative data. So, how do you do the mixed methods approach? First is comprehensive understanding. Again, integrating narratives with data offers a rich perspective on research topics. If you have your statistical data and with that you're also involving personal narratives, the audience that you're going to reach is going to increase by a large amount. Next is validation of findings. Now, personal stories can validate to what your research has found statistically. So, if a personal story is aligning with the data or the numbers that's showing on your statistical uh, data sheet, then it means that yes, this problem is actually existing. So, personal stories can validate your quantitative results and increase the credibility of those results. Next is triangulation of data. So, if you're combining different methods like finding, ensuring, and finding the methods, ensuring the robustness in this research. So, this will help you figure out the best ways to find the research methodologies. Next is mixed method approach. So in this, you're utilizing both qualitative and quantitative data enriches the research methodologies. Next, we're going to see the technology and personal narratives. So this is how we're going to see the impact of digital storytelling on research. So first is it enhances the narrative collection. So instead of just personal interviews and that's going to take time of traveling and other expenses. Now a digital storytelling platform is much easier for us to reach a wider audience. Next is the online platform. Also broaden your audience reach. Like I said, if you're doing a personal meetup, there's a geolocation that you're restricted to or a zone that you're restricted to. While an online platform does not restrict you to any zones, as you can connect to anyone worldwide. Next is Diversity in narratives enriches your research. So if you're talking to multiple people from multiple geolocations, maybe the understanding of a problem is different in different people of different places. So this can help us to broaden our mind point or viewpoint of the problem. Next is technology fosters innovative research method. Very obviously, new tools and platforms always encourage researchers to do better and adopt to more creative technologies. Next, we're going to see the role of reflexity. First is the definition of reflexity. This basically involves the active reflection by researchers on their own biases and influences during the research process. So we go through whatever and all we have researched, figure out if there's some bias from our own selves into this, any influences of ourselves into the research paper, and change those. Next is transparency. So it is crucial for a researcher to maintain transparency, allowing researchers to acknowledge their perspectives. Next is accountability in narrative research. Again, Reflexes ensures that the researchers are accountable for how their narratives shape the findings and interpretations of the data or the personal narrative that we're getting. Next is impact of these personal narratives. In personal narratives, reflexivity helps us to understand how personal experiences influence research outcomes. Next is enhancing validity. So reflective practices can enhance the validity of research by integrating the research insights and contexts. Next is future directions for the narrative research. First is AI narrative analysis, obviously, increases the utilized to analyze the extensive narrative data sets, allowing for deeper insights and pattern recognition. Next is virtual reality for storytelling. Again, exploration of virtual reality offers immersive experiences that can enhance the storytelling process, making narratives more engaging. As a conclusion, we have realized that the personal narratives in research give us a unique dimension, a deeper learning, an empathy building research paper, a connection strengthening, and also a wider user space and a wider audience for the research paper. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day.